And we are live. Hello and welcome to Developer Insights. I'm David.
I'm Justin.
Together we are the leads on game development and design here at Codename.
We also founded Codename too.
We will be your hosts for this episode and for every episode.
Because when we're not here, the show doesn't happen.
It seems like that's something we can enforce.
Today is our 71st episode.
Which hopefully we can get through without being called away to look at server issues.
That's okay. I've got the monitor up here. I can see if... Wait. No. Okay, it's good.
Don't scare me like that.
Oh, wait. No, it's good. False alarm.
Very funny. Oh, uh-oh.
What?
No, it's fine.
Oh, okay. Okay, now we're just tempting fate.
I, for one, on the other hand, enjoy spending my Sundays on video chat with you and Peter, tracking down issues with aberrant misuses of the servers. So, we get that. It's little things.
Yeah, no. Anyway, as always, we are here to answer development and design questions about idle champions.
But if you don't ask any questions, you may have to suffer through Justin's one-man reenactment of, what is it this week? Ant-Man and the Wasp. Quantumania? Yeah, that's how it is. Good thing that's nobody's name.
You mean that ad that the movie that they played the ad for just in front of the show, the one that's coming out this weekend?
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to see it yet.
Well, that's just an excuse. If you don't do a good job, you're going to have to fix the servers solo.
Oh, please, questions, chat, quickly.
I don't see any questions coming in. I think you're going to have to do the fixing.
All right.
As always, of course, we have pulled questions forward from the previous show that we did not get to. So we will answer some of those while we're waiting for questions to come in. And of course, before we get to those, I have some updates on items that we flagged to get looked at by the dev team. So I'd say we're stalling for time, but honestly, I don't know what that was. We should have used the one that ChatGPT wrote. Yeah. Questions. Okay. So I've got a few items here that got fixed, not fixed, or rather got added. These are features that at least I'm not showing up empty-handed with this week. I did manage to get in some speed improvements for opening the chest to put in chest codes at the moment, or I guess with the build that's going out next. Actually, all these things are on the build that's going out next, which I think is probably this afternoon for Steam. If you control click on the chest opening chest, the code opening chest, it will speed up the animation to the point where it will just skip it and then keep it that way for the remainder of your session. So if you don't like seeing that chest fly out and fly back as you put in codes, just control click it and that will take away that little animation. We also added an option in the potion manager so that if you control click when you're clicking to use a potion, it will set it to use 1 hour's worth of potions. This was a request from last week. In addition to support that, the potions can now be opened up to 12 at a time to accommodate using 1 hour's worth of small potions. So yeah, that's what I've got for new features this week. I still have in the in progress list prioritizing the saving feats with formations, adding icons to portraits of champions that are blocked due to variant rules that a feat could make them unblocked, which I should word better. Tooltip for gear with max level to indicate progress towards max level. An option to quickly return to level 1 on mobile. Additional icons on the quest tracker, recall for familiar, indication of unread change logs, adding the option to buy more than one patron chest at a time, and adjusting the sorting of the campaign list on the Modron automation campaign selection. Okay, looks like today our mods are Sir Sean and Mr. Mars. So
Let us move on to some questions left over from last week's show. We had quite a few questions in last week's show, so we've pulled forward 4 of them. The first one here is from Squirm651, who asked, can we get rid of the level number on each enemy? It's always the same as the area number, so it's just noise.
They're not wrong, Justin.
I agree. I think it's something, so I think the reason it exists is because early on when you're starting the game, and when you're like a brand new player, we want to indicate very clearly that as you go through the areas that the monsters get harder and harder. And so having the level number there, I think for like brand new players in the tutorial is actually it's not the most important thing, but I think it is useful and important. And so I think maybe having an option in the settings to turn it off is probably the way to go here, so that we can kind of have it on there, and then you can just get rid of it if you want to get rid of it.
Potential setting. Okay, we'll give that one a highlight.
Perfect.
Okay, next question. This one is from Detoth. Follow-on question to older champions and feats. Is there a way to retool champions on a faster cadence than with seasons? Maybe one champion per month.
Yeah, so I wanted to highlight this one because it's a good opportunity to sort of talk about our cadence with seasons and how much work that is for the dev team. And I would say that the rate that we are rebalancing champions with seasons is right on the edge of sort of how quickly we can do that stuff. So I don't think there isn't really an opportunity to add more champion rebalances aside from the basically 20 that we're doing per year with seasons. There may be opportunities for sort of smaller ones for champions that are outside of seasons, like we kind of did with some of the favored foe stuff for season 2. But I think that the idea of sort of being able to loop through other unrelated champions on any sort of timeline is probably going to be very challenging to do with our current resources. So I would say that for now the seasons are going to be the main source of champion reworks. So the next question here is from D. Zior, who asked, why isn't there an easy way to open the patron dialogue from the campaign map? Right now I have to start an adventure, check the patron menu, and then complete the adventure to go back and do another patron challenge.
Why isn't there a way to open the patron dialogue in the campaign map? Yeah. So as this is a question that's related to something that hasn't come up in quite a while on stream, but it is something I believe we've answered before, and that is that a lot of the game data actually isn't loaded when we're at the campaign map, and that is something that has been changing over time as we have added more and more items available to be opened on the campaign map. But I think that's just a holdover from that. It's that there's actually a bunch of definitions for that aren't active, and pieces of the game that aren't active when you're at the map by itself. But it is something that could probably be adjusted. I mean, I think that sounds like it's probably a quality of life improvement there for a lot of players. So I'm going to tag it so we can take a look at it. And Justin, I mean, I assume this is something that you're in favor of.
I am in favor of it. I feel like we probably have enough patron information to do that now, because we certainly do show patron challenges on the tracker if you have any of those active. So assumedly we should have at least some of that patron information when you're on the campaign map, because we definitely have the challenges.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's a long holdover from early on when we just had nothing loaded on that screen. Mm-hmm. So
yeah.
Okay. Next question, and the last one left over from last week, is from Mateus Zero. Mateus asks, any chance we could alter nodes and have nodes we can swap out to make certain Modron cores more optimized?
So I assume in this one we're talking about the output nodes, so the nodes that you try and get the Modron juice into. And the answer is no.
Juice?
Modron, what is it? It's energy? Psychomorphic Modron juice? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we're probably not going to do this. Part of the challenge of Modron cores is getting the energy into the right cores, getting it across the core to get it into the right node. And so I think by letting you kind of swap out which ones, I think it would make it potentially a little bit too easy to have some very OP Modron cores. So probably not going to do that.
Right. And it just occurred to me, actually, before we move on, that I add an item to the in-progress list that I promised would get on there last week. Not promised that I'd get done. That was that was the potion one. We did get that done, but this is the because we're talking about Modron, making the Modron visible, further drag to the right,
so adding some padding to the core so you can we really should do that. Modron. Seems like a very easy thing that we can just knock out in a couple of minutes.
Filters. Okay, good.
And then of course it'll have like a million knock-on effects where it'll just break everything else, but at least it'll be done. Let's see here.
Okay.
The first question from this week's episode is from the Thor Out First, who asks, or really has a suggestion. Why did you
have to say that, Justin?
I don't know. This is from the Thor Out First. They ask, or they say, on the current player screen, if you can put an icon of the potions that are active, or sorry, the current party screen, I imagine they mean. Could you put an icon of the potions that are active in each party? Then I would not have to swap parties so much to see which potions have expired. With just one look, I could see if any party's potions have expired and which party has a speed potion so I could make it active, since background speed potions don't work. Well, speed potions should work. Yes. With this type of display, I could see just about everything about what a party is doing. Less time using the server and swapping parties.
Okay.
Part of that felt like a tongue twister.
I know.
There.
It's like we
potions,
wanted to
get swap potions, parties, potions.
A proper party potion post, so that they can be. Forget it. That's a fair question or a fair suggestion. It's going to get larger and larger displays on those.
I think this is another thing where maybe it needs to be like an option of like, basic mode for the current party screen, and then like super mode.
I mean, it's a good question how much of that active stuff is shown there. I mean, I can ask Mark sort of how much, and we must have the data at the point at which the party has been updated, which potions are active. I doubt we kind of have like sort of the halfway through the run, this potion has disappeared data available for display on the multi-party's display, but maybe. Yeah. We can think about it. It's a little tricky. Okay, next question. This one is from Rakolo Jonas. I get the tongue twisters today. You gave us Fen to make the patron chores less of a burden. Isn't it a bummer that you gave us chores that require a number of areas with champions from Fen's slot?
It is a bummer. Yeah, I mean, yes, this is a good question. We've talked about this in previous episodes as well. It is indeed a bummer. Now, the challenge is, for us, no pun intended, that we do not want to kind of lock ourselves out of being able to use certain champions in patron challenges. And so, yes, from time to time, there will be challenges that contain a champion in Fen slots. There's only 12 slots, so there's kind of a 1 in 12 shot that there will be a champion from Fen slot. Otherwise, we're kind of making a choice when we add a champion in that slot that they never get to be in a patron chore or patron challenge. And so that's not really a thing we're willing to do, is lock out certain champions from the challenges. So for the most part, you've got 12 slots, and you will definitely have some challenges that don't have champions from Fen slots. You'll be able to use Fen with those, and you'll have other ones where you can't use Fen. So hopefully in the long run, Fen is valuable to you, and you'll be able to get through the challenges a lot faster. But there'll be a couple where you can't use Fen. It's a bummer. Next question here is from Jason M. Bryant 1, who asks, there are buttons for going backwards and forwards 5 areas. Shift clicking on them go to the first area or the last area. How about control clicking on them to take you forward or back 100 areas? This would be useful for getting to specific grinding spots for Briv and others.
I don't have any specific objections to that functionality. I guess so. Sure, let's do it. I'm not. I can't. Yeah, that couldn't hurt. What do you think?
Does control not do anything already on those?
On clicking on those, I don't think so.
No.
I think we've got the shift click, which takes you the back and forth, and we're saying 5 areas. Let's just, going forward one section or backwards one section. So moving 100 areas at a time.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to get some commentary here from Sean.
Well, control just goes back a page. Oh, okay. So yeah.
Isn't that a normal click?
That's a normal click.
I'm confused for a moment there. Okay. Cool. So next question here is from Monkey House. Can you give us an update on what's going on with the servers? The game seems to hang for short lengths of time, which is very frustrating.
Yeah, so this is a good question. We've definitely been we have been working on the servers for the past couple of weeks now. Yeah. The main thing we've been trying to do is kind of bring the servers more up to date with the various hardware and software. So we've been doing a bunch of updates, and there have been a couple of hiccups in there as we sort of work out the kinks of the older code running in some of the newer software and some of the various things that the newer software does that the older software didn't do. So we are working our way through those and watching the servers very, very closely these days. In fact, I've got the monitor up right here. I can see that the servers are all up and running well. And I think we're getting with every kind of server issue that we have, every sort of hang, I think we get closer and closer to kind of getting them into a good state where we can just let them go again. Let them fly the coop. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that sort of we mentioned in a previous week that, we were working on upgrading the servers. It's come with a few, sort of growing pains that were some that were expected and some that were not. Right now, sort of we were actually just the very thing we were doing before coming on stream today was making some adjustments to the configuration on some of the servers in a way that we think is going to make them a little more stable, use a little bit more, or use a little bit less resources so that it can handle the players that are on it without having any difficulty. So we're going to keep looking at that. I mean, obviously, sort of as we joked about at the beginning of the stream, but not something that's actually much of a joke, is that we have been spending some of our weekend hours going over server logs that are coming in, suggesting that things are, sort of approaching their limits and figuring out what we can do to make sure that the play is not interrupted, and of course to limit the interruptions that are happening as much as possible. So it's certainly something that's both interrupting your play, but also interrupting our regular work, and we want to make sure that we get that to a point where it's not interrupting us and it's not interrupting you. Not necessarily in that order of priority. Don't get the wrong idea, but we definitely want to figure out and smooth that out. And as Justin also said, it's sort of one of the things we've done is sort of bring up the technology on those servers to a more modern level. They were getting a little bit long in the tooth. I believe one of the users on the Discord, you know who you are, said something along the lines of, this version of Nginx and PHP 8 for Codename, that's downright bleeding edge, which seems a little bit like a backhanded compliment, but we're certainly trying to get things a little more up to date. And it's had its growing pains.
Yeah. At the end of the day, our hope for this is that some of the kind of the sort of tick overs we see on Mondays and Wednesdays, where we get kind of some server hiccups, we've had those for a long time. Our hope is that by the time we finish all this stuff, that those will be a thing of the past, because we'll be able to handle that kind of burst capacity that happens at those times. The next question here is related. This is Rand Rums asks, can we have someone on call for Sunday morning / early day in case of a third consecutive Sunday outage, as it's taken quite some time to get people on it?
Sorry for being a doomsayer. Yes.
I will say that I think this past Sunday we caught it very quickly. It just took a little bit of time to figure out what was happening. So it's not necessarily like when it happens, it's not necessarily that we're not on it very, very quickly. It's that it just takes a little bit of time to diagnose what the issue is and get a fix in. Yeah.
Somebody messages fairly quickly. I got a lovely text message from you, Justin,
yes,
Sunday morning along the lines of, I'm in Vancouver, servers are down, good luck.
Yes, I was out of town for the weekend. But you know what? You and Peter got on it. You fixed it.
Yep. We took care of it.
It's all good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next question. This one is from Lalmth, the True Legendary. Thoughts on moving the legendary effect text on gear cards to its own separate box? At the moment, it's somewhat inconvenient to read the legendary effect on the gear card itself.
Yeah, this is a good question, and this kind of this goes back to
the actual design of it itself.
When we were originally designing the stuff and trying to figure out where to put the legendary effect text. And we actually iterated a couple of times on sort of how to display it. I think we had it scrolling in different ways, and then I think we eventually settled on this kind of bouncing scroll thing. And it's definitely it's not the most convenient thing in the world. But we didn't want to have kind of a separate pop-up for it. It felt like it kind of took itself out of the card. And we haven't really found a sort of a nicer way to do it. There's a comment there in the chat. We could just extend the cards vertically to fit text. That would not look nice.
That would look really weird.
That would look really bad.
Yeah.
So I think we're still open to ideas of sort of how to get that to work. But for now, the one we found is kind of the best solution that sort of mixes the various things that are pulling on that readability versus visual appeal versus functionality, etc.
Yeah, no, there was definitely quite a lot of back and forth on that initially, and I know we talked about potentially shortening the flavor text on it and just prioritizing the details of the effect. I think we also tried a version where it faded the text out in pages and sort of cycled through pages, and then we ended up settling on the ping pong.
I like Topher's suggestion. Send an SMS text message to the player with the card text anytime they mouse over the card.
Oh dear. Yes.
Mobile text rates may apply.
I'm liking the idea of you just keep clicking it flips, and then it flips, and then it flips. So it's actually got like different things every time you flip it.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like a whole bunch of like some sort of Schrodinger's card.
Multiple dimensional card. It's a weird Tesseract card. Okay. Next question. Do you forget the answer to this one? Is that why we're just skipping over it?
Yes, I would have to go look up the code for that one.
All right. Sorry,
Garwar.
We forgot the answer. We don't have the answer off the top of our heads for that either. Next question then is from Orc Princess. Idea really for charity. What about making an IC calendar? Could be one of the great artwork out there of them, or lots of other possibilities.
It's a cool idea of doing some sort of Idle Camp and Champions calendar. Actually, I saw on Peter's desk this morning. He's got like a calendar that's got like pictures of like his kid and his wife in it, and I was like, oh, that's a really cool idea for like a gift for my wife. So I'm like, that should. But anyway, calendars, I guess. It's calendars. It's related in that way. Calendars are nice. I don't know. It's a fun idea. I think there are issues with us monetizing the artwork outside of the game. I think there's some licensing issues with that.
Merchandising the IP in general is not something that we have a license for. Which means that while we could do something like this in game, and I think perhaps we could do something like this and have it free. Or like give it away for free on the website and you could print it yourself kind of thing. I don't think there's a way for us to sell it.
Even for charity.
Yeah, even for charity. Yeah.
It's a cool idea though.
Yeah. Next question. This one is from Garwar. Garwar asks, why does Sentry's new feat that negates healing have a damage bonus per portion for Sentry?
Yeah, so there's I'm going to assume there's a feat out for Sentry now, and these are feats that we designed a little while ago, so I'm not sure which champions specifically got them. But there's a feat type that basically when the champion hits, they do extra damage and they prevent the enemy from healing for 10 seconds or something like that. Super useful for certain enemies that heal. Strahd. I think the reason we put extra damage on is just to give it something that it does when you're not fighting enemies that have a heal. Obviously, it's not super useful for all champions. It's yourself DPS for Sentry. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. But it's the effect itself is a generalized effect that we will eventually have for a bunch of champions. So eventually, assumingly, we'll see that one on a DPS champion, and that extra damage will make more sense. So yeah. Next question here is from OG17. This also relates to the server/connection issues. And they say, whenever there's a server/connection issue, we get endless pop-ups layered on top of each other. Could these maybe check to see if there's already a message active?
They could maybe check for that. Yes, I agree. They definitely could. It is a long-standing issue.
God, that has been there for so long.
It hasn't come up recently, but we've definitely caused it to come up recently. That makes sense. At any rate, I'll tag that. There's a fairly easy way for us to handle that, such as checking to see if there's already a pop-up. So, yeah. Tag it. Someone will take a quick look.
Great. Let's do the next question.
Sure. Next question here is from Foolish Genius 89, asking, with the new blessing counting feats, could you include a number and total available to that number, or at least until the new collections menu Justin wants so badly?
Yeah, I'm surprised that we don't, on that feat, that we don't include the number that you have. Obviously, I don't think we include the total number available, so we need to find a place to do that. But yeah, I think this is something that if we're not already doing, then we should probably do that, at least until we get that collections dialogue that I want so bad, because I do want that. Okay, it does. Emote says it does include the amount we have, but not the total. So you're just looking for the total on there. That may be possible.
Just maybe?
Yeah.
Okay.
It may be possible. I'm not sure. I know that there are unreleased feats, and we wouldn't want to count those in the total available, because that would potentially be confusing if people are like, I have all the feats I think I can get, and yet it's showing me that I'm missing 4 of them or whatever. Or like if we put in new data for upcoming DLC feats, and then it sort of increased that total number, but there was no way to get them yet. That would be a bad feeling. So yeah, I think if we were going to do this, we'd have to be very careful about it and make sure that it was only including feats that are currently available in some way. Of course, if we also did this, we'd probably, just thinking this through, we'd probably end up creating support tickets for ourselves, because there might be feats that say you get from like a patron or from an adventure variant or something like that, that wouldn't be immediately obvious how you get those. And so we might get people being like, hey, I'm at 699 out of 702 feats, and I think I have them all. Where are the ones I'm missing? And then poor Sean and Taylor would have to dig through all their data, trying to figure out where they were. Anyway, we'll think about that.
Okay.
Hey, it's 2:30.
You're not wrong.
We don't have a script for this, but it's 2:30. You know what 2:30 means, Dave?
It's time for aluminum chests.
Kind of, yes. It's time for our world famous, super popular, incredibly well rehearsed giveaway.
They like the giveaway part anyway.
Where we give away 42 chests of your choice. If you win, at least it's your choice. If you don't win, it's whoever won's choice. Anyway, the way this works is you enter in the chat. You type the word burst into chat. Very funny. And if you are picked by Moobot, then you get your choice of 42 chests. It can be any type of chest in the game, except for certain types of chests that it can't be. Yeah, so enter to win that.
Wait, you're saying Moobot picks it? I just thought like one of the mods picked someone they liked. It was.
We say Moobot picks it, just so it sounds fair.
Okay, I see.
So yeah, good luck to everyone on that. Hopefully you win. I'm not allowed to enter or win. Well, I'm allowed to enter, but I'm not allowed to win. So it's kind of like Yeah.
But what kind of chest would you pick if you won?
Oh, if I did win, if I could enter, and if I did win, I would pick Modron component chests because those are my favorite chests because I like making little Modron juice go around the core.
That's a popular item.
Yeah.
I know in the most recent survey, that was one of the most popular items that players would like more of.
Excellent. Let's move on to the next question.
All right. Next question is from Garwar. It looks like the last of the ICP modules to be posted was Trials of Mount Tiamat. Are you going to be posting other ICP modules publicly or not anymore?
I'm assuming since we haven't posted them since then that we are not going to be posting them anymore. I'm not sure of the reasons for that. It's possible we're not doing like the really nice fancy versions that we were doing before. That's probably the reason. We're probably just doing a more cut down kind of module that the DM gets hold of. So yeah, it's probably because we are not producing the nice sort of official looking style ones anymore, because that was likely taking a lot of time.
Yep, just some scribbled down DM notes now. Honestly, I have no idea. I haven't seen them, but
like that scene from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia with the conspiracy map. That's exactly what our DM looks like going into ICP days.
Every time. Next question. This is from OG17, asking, later patron variants each give more currency than a year of patron challenges. Is that true?
I guess it is. Okay. I've seen this question for a couple of weeks.
Are challenges meant to stay relevant late game?
Yeah. So this is obviously something that I was likely not intentional. I think the currency and the influence rewards for patron variants are kind of auto-generated, and it sounds to me like the curve got a little bit out of hand. We will likely address that at some point, either by having some things you can buy in the patron shop that take a whole lot of currency, or by potentially reducing the rewards for new variants in the future. One of those two. We'll have to take a look at that. Yeah, Nako Penda says inflation. Inflation comes to patrons. Damn inflation. It's everywhere. We can't escape it.
Gonna have to raise those rates. All right.
Let's see. Yeah, this next one is from Jason M. Bryant 1. I recognize that name for some reason. They ask, having scales of Tiamat balanced better is great. However, the Forge interface needs a lot of work for finding the effect/favor that you want to forge. Any idea when this will get an upgrade? So not just the effect favor, but like finding the champion you want to forge for, and being able to sort and filter and stuff like that. Yeah, I see you have it highlighted.
We'll just highlight that. It's sort of a little thinking past the sail here. When will it's not will you do this? It's when will you do this? Yes. Although I do think we've mentioned this before on stream and agreed that it is something that needs some work.
Yes, absolutely.
So tag it as a reminder. And get bumped on the list. Okay, next question is from Gauntlet Blade. When I first unlocked extra parties and resets using Modrons, the parties would fully power up, but now they only drop the first members and the familiars. Is this an issue, or am I misremembering?
I'm not sure. If you've got familiars in there, like if you have a loaded party selected in the Modron, it should drop all the familiars in, and they should then level up all the champions, and it should just go with like a full party, assuming that you've got enough familiars to kind of level all of them up.
And the familiars have to be on the champions.
Yes, they have to be on the champions. Leveling them up. But it should just go.
It should. If there are familiars placed on the champions, but it's not placing the champions, that is definitely an issue. Please open a ticket with that, and Sean or Taylor can pass that on to Mark, who would take a look. But they should definitely, you should get a full party. But the caveat there is you do need to put familiars on the heroes on the bar.
Yeah, and definitely if you guys are, obviously we've been working on background offline progress stuff for the past few months. past year almost, actually. I think that Mark's been working on upgrades for that. So if you are seeing issues like this, if you're seeing problems where your parties are stalling and stuff like that, please do open a ticket about it. We want to make sure that we're tracking all of this stuff down as much as possible. And if it's not getting reported as much anymore, then we're going to start to assume that it is fixed. And if it's not fixed, then we need to hear about it. So please, if you are having issues with background parties, offline progress, etc., please let us know via tickets.
Okay. Next question here is from Max IQbert. Any news about Bud not going down as fast?
Yeah, I wasn't 100% sure what they're asking about here. I think I talked about a couple of months ago that we were thinking about ways of changing how Bud degrades. So right now, Bud will start degrading, I think, 30 seconds after the biggest hit is done or refreshed. And we're thinking about maybe changing it so that Bud would only start degrading like maybe when you change areas. And the main reason for that is to kind of have a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? Have
Leeway?
Bud be
Margin
more...
Get a little further on cases where you've got a lot of monsters on screen and you got a big...
Yes, it's for sustainability. That's the reason the word I'm looking for, sustainability. So if you start out an area and you are you're doing enough damage that you're able to kill monsters and therefore set your Bud really high, and then as the number of monsters comes down, you're not able to get your Bud up that high because you needed to have those monsters on screen in order to do it, then you start to run into issues where you find you can defeat a boss and say 9 of the minions, but not the last minion. And part of that reason could be that your Bud is dropping to a level at which certain abilities, clicks or whatnot, are not able to defeat the monsters anymore. So by having your Bud not start to tick down until you change areas, it'll basically just always be set to whatever the highest Bud you got in that area. And excuse me. And that would hopefully help people not get stalled out on areas like that. So it's something that we're thinking about. Not something that we've made a decision on yet. So still just thinking about it.
Yeah, I feel like that came up a lot more recently than even a couple of months ago. I feel like it was in the last couple of streams someone asked about that. But anyway, next question. Next question is from Niscus. And Niscus asks, we already have a feat for Briv that caps the ability to 100%, which is 4 jumps. People in the community calculated and shared that reaching 100% Briv 14 jump would take over 5 years, 24/7 gem farming at 8 to 9k boss bags per hour. I don't know how the servers would like that. So that's basically impossible. Just to avoid that people self-hurt... And read that sentence before I say it. Just to avoid that, people self-hurt themselves trying to reach Briv 14 jumps, and also avoid us asking for a Briv 100% Briv 9 jump feat. Could you please just hard cap Briv jump item at 127, 226 item level?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably not a bad idea to cap that item level at 9 jump, just because, yeah, I think for our server's health, we don't really want people trying to get to 14 jump. That sounds like that would be really bad for the servers to have a whole bunch of people.
Plus, it would take 5 years of 24/7 gem farming.
Yeah. And you know what would happen after 5 years? Our server load would just suddenly drop because everyone got there, and then we'd be like, "Oh, hey, we fixed something." It'd be like, "No, it was just because of they finally got to where they needed to go." Anyway, yeah. So I think we can look at potentially capping that. I think that makes sense. Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
So is that a yes? We'll do that. Maybe we'll consider it.
It's a yes. We'll consider it.
Okay. I hope that's the right level. You can check that before you set the cap.
We'll calculate the level. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Just take the word of 127,626. It's a good number.
It might be.
Okay. Next question from Mr. Nobody Nobodyson, who, as we know, is the brother of Bodie McBoatface. I recently achieved 4 jump Briv and have joined the fellowship of non-scripters who have to fuss over little tweaks to reliably stack Briv and at the end of a run. Usually we can get it dialed in, but occasionally RNG goes RNG and the Modron reset happens before Briv has enough stacks. Can we get an option for Modron automation to define a minimum number of stacks before it will reset? For example, get to zone X, but don't reset until Briv has Y stacks.
Yeah, so I highlighted this because we also got this question last week, but this one's a little bit more clear about what you're looking for. And I can't remember, what did we say about last week? I think we said, like, yeah, it's an interesting idea.
It opens a big can of worms, I think, in terms of what values would be available there. I mean, it's really almost in line with putting an option there that's like Briv over, or very specifically Briv override at this level, or
this is another case where, like, there needs to be kind of I'm new to the game, and I'm still trying to figure stuff out, so please don't overwhelm me with options, and I know what I'm doing. Yes. Just give me the options and shut up. and I think I think this would be definitely part of the I know what I'm doing, just give me the options and stop bothering me kind of dialogue.
Yeah, it's a tricky one like that.
Yeah,
it doesn't have an obvious implementation without other things that would make sense to be in that slot.
Yeah. Let's see. Next question here is from
this one is aimed at me. I can feel it.
And they ask, whose bright idea was it to link a survey from the app that requires you to use a mouse to answer the questions? Huh, Dave? Whose bright idea was that?
Yeah, okay, I did that. Yeah, that was an oversight, unfortunately, on the mobile survey, that the drag and drop for the ranking answers didn't work on the touchscreen, or rather didn't work in general, but did work for some players on the touchscreen. I know Eric tested it on his and it worked. I tested it on mine and I couldn't get it to work, so I'm not sure how Eric was making it work. But this was a case of we had done a previous survey and not had any issues, and so we put in another survey and pushed the button on it, but didn't think about the fact that we had added a new type of question, and that new type of question was the ranking one, which then was not compatible with the touchscreen, unfortunately. I'm not 100% sure what we're going to be able to do with that going forward. If we use questions like that again, we may simply have a thing that says that you must complete this survey on a PC.
Elnit says, just let us all use Eric's phone.
Yeah.
Good idea. Yeah, we'll just mail it around.
Line up one at a time. Yeah. So my apologies for that. We'll make sure that that's made clear next time if we use a question like that, that we have to do it on PC, or at least something that you can use a mouse. You can plug a mouse into your phone, right? I'm kidding. No, I think you can, but I'm not suggesting that as the option. As a, yeah, and otherwise potentially try to avoid that type of question if we put a survey out on mobile. Okay, next question. This one is from Foolish Genius 89. Asks, it seems like all inactive affiliations. Nope. What? All active. Well, there we go. Swing and a miss. All active affiliations are complete. Are there any new affiliations on the way? You don't have to spoil what they are. Sometimes
you just read exactly the opposite of what the question's asking.
Sometimes it's reading is difficult. I know it's.
Yeah. So the easy answer to this question is yes. There are some new affiliations on the way. We've just finished designing the first couple champions for the next affiliation, and I think it's going to be really fun. and the champions are really fun. And yeah, so yes, but I cannot yet spoil what they are. But they are coming fairly soon. I think yeah, within like a couple of months, I think we'll have a new affiliation out there.
Sorry, it's the option here. Just use a Bluetooth mouse.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Let's see. Next question here is from Randram, who asks, call back to a few months back. Any updates on the promise to consider a familiar slot on the to re-enable auto progress?
No, we don't have any. That is something that certainly we discussed and have discussed a couple of times. I don't think any further discussion has happened to that outside of the stream discussion. I don't see any reason why that couldn't go there. I don't know how that would impact the offline progress. I do. As I read that earlier, it did occur to me that that could potentially make offline progress run substantially longer. But it's certainly something.
It's like how many times would it retry?
Yeah,
turning auto progress back on before it just decided no, there's no way you're getting through this next little bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's kind of it, right? Though, is that sort of the typical offline progress stall out occurs where you hit your wall, you get bumped back, then you've still got X number of hours of progress remaining. That it determines that you can't go any further. Or rather that offline progress has stopped, and then it just calculates the remaining amount of times worth of gold that you'll get while you're sitting there. But if offline progress could continually turn that back on because there's a familiar on it, then you're going to sit there for some period, the gold will come in, it would have to process leveling up the champions, and it would have to progress forward. It could actually make that substantially longer, right? Like it could basically have, like say you're offline for another 8 hours past the point where that wall was hit. I could see that adding minutes to the calculation actually. Mm-hmm. So I mean I can see why players would want that option there, but it might actually be impractical to put there. So
I like Foolish Genius 89 has a suggestion: just make it not work in offline.
Isn't that the reason why I think
that's
that feels
easy.
like the reason why people would want it.
I mean, potentially. I could also see it just being on your active party, and then it just handles all that stuff you're talking about just fine.
Just for the ones where you're letting it sit. Yeah, no, that's a fair point. It would help at least for your active party.
Random says follow up foreground only is fine.
Yeah. Okay. Because I think that would be possible. I mean, that seems actually fairly straightforward. It's the offline part that makes me nervous.
Yeah, because he's saying there's Foolish Genius 89. They're saying that there are variants that you have to babysit, and that's true. There are definitely some variants where, where designers are kind of jerks, and we're just like, every 5 seconds, one of your champions just randomly dies, and if that happens to be your DPS
you
at the start of an area,
that, right, Justin?
Oh, I do that all the time, just for fun. That's how I get my. Get my willies.
Excuse me?
Get my jollies.
Nope.
My jollies. Anyway, that's this episode of Insights. Bye.
Okay, next question. This is another interesting one, actually. This is from Topher the Returned. Can you please adjust the max health bar of champions for variance restrictions which reduce champion max health? Having the HP bar show 10% when the champs are full health makes it very hard to tell whether your tanks are about to break. And so I think the context on this is that the variant adjustment, the restriction reduces the champion's health to 10%, but they still show that 10% becomes their 100%. So they show like they're full, even though they're actually at 10.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly that sounds like the way we should be doing it. It feels like this is probably an oversight when this variant kind of restriction got implemented. It was probably just a call of whoever was implementing it to implement it in that way, and then it just didn't get caught in QA. So I think that is how it should display.
Hold on for a second though. Did you catch what I said though? Because right now it shows as the full bar is 10%. right. But I think what they're asking is so that they would show as the bar at 10% with 90% missing the whole time. I think that's what's being requested. Does that make sense?
No, I'm reading the opposite there.
Because I thought we just show the 10%.
Yeah, I think right now the bar shows just 10%
Maybe I'm
when
wrong.
you're at full health.
Oh,
and that makes it hard because you've only got 10% of the pixels to tell when. Yeah.
No, that's fair. So, that's my misunderstanding.
Yeah. So I think we wanted to display a full health bar, even if your max health is reduced by 90%.
Yeah, I see in chat OG17 saying it shows a 90% empty bar, but he didn't think the old things did that. I do wonder if earlier ones didn't do that.
Quite
and the
possibly,
reason I wonder that is because adjusting the max health as just a percent adjustment would by default, kind of the way all that UI was set up, actually show the way that's being requested, which it would show it as the full bar. We would have actually had to go out of our way to show the max health, the health being sort of limited, but still have the max health of what it would have been originally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe there's a variant. I'm trying to think. There's a variant we did recently where you start out at like 1% health and you can't be healed above that. If you guys could let us know what specific variant this is happening in, then maybe we could take a look and see how that is implemented. If that's implemented a different way than
an earlier
trials, later trialist days. Okay. We can look into that trials restriction and see if it's implemented in a way that is not good.
Okay.
Let's see. Moving on here. Question from question colon. Will Modron automation be adjusted to allow for multiple potions of the same type/duration to be used?
At some point, yes. I really would like to see that get in there. It's not something that's top of the priority list right now, but it is something that is asked for regularly, and it's something that we'd definitely like to see that support. I don't have an ETA, unfortunately. All right. We got time for at least one more question. This one is from... Justin's ambitious. He's got 3. This one's from Delcon. Asking, is there any new feature planned to use champions? I don't think you want to add 7 more background parties to be able to use all of the champions.
Yeah, this is a good question. So I don't think we need 7 quite yet. Seven more, because right now I think I guess there might be one or 2 slots where we're at 10. For the most part, I think we're between 8 and 9 in most slots. So we only need 5 more background parties to be able to use all champions at once. Definitely, I don't think it's our intention for to have to support enough parties to be able to use all champions at once. There are definitely some combinations of champions. Like once you kind of have your top kind of 4 or 5 parties, you'll probably find it more difficult to put together a cohesive party for your 6th or 7th with the number of champions that are currently in game. Obviously, 5 years from now, when we have twice as many champions, that won't necessarily be the case. You'll probably be able to put together more parties. But there is definitely a question of how many parties is too many, how many champions is too many, and what else can we do with champions when we don't want them to be sitting in background parties. So it is something that design has thought about from time to time. In Crusaders, our previous idle game, we had this sort of mission system where you could send your champions or your Crusaders in that game off on missions, and they would bring you back gold and chests and other Crusaders and stuff like that. And so that was a decent system for using a bunch of those champions or Crusaders that you never used before, but it was very passive. And I think with idle champions, with the multi-party system, we were trying to be a little bit more active and a little bit less passive with that. So I think ideally we'd like to find a more active way to use background champions or non-used champions. So I think if we were going to find a way to do that, we'd try and find a really creative, active way to do that. And we have not yet come up with that.
Okay, next question. Donut Mind Me asks, Could we just get a universal track all quests or challenges so that we don't need to keep retracking every time a new one comes up?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with this. What are your thoughts on this, Dave?
Yeah, seems like just track in the quest tracker, just anything available, track it. Yeah, could work.
Cool. All right, and the last question of the day. We'll get through this last one, and then we'll sign off because I think Sean has a stream after ours. This is from Monkey House, who asks a question that we've never seen before, and I certainly didn't highlight, just to remind Dave that people are looking for this.
No, I can't see it. Can you make it bigger?
Monkey House asks, can you increase the UI scale slider to at least 200%? There are folks that are very invested in that.
I mean, I can make the slider bigger, but oh, come on, it's funny. Yeah. I can give it a shot and see what that does. I know we had limits that were tested and ones that are not. I think it was set at maxes at 120. Thank you for making that larger. That were tested and ones that were not. I think there are some issues around the text sizes that might get used, but I can take a look and play with that and see if it's just a few minor things that need to be touched up.
We'll just literally just scale stuff up. Like we'll render it at the lower res and then just scale it up.
Yeah, I mean, I think it might have been
the
mentioned
art team might kill us
lately, or not lately, but because of the change to the font system that we did to support localization, we do now have the ability to have much larger fonts than we did before, because they're Text Mesh Pro fonts rather than our Sprite fonts. So certainly it's an option. Okay, I think that is really all the time we have today.
Yeah, if we didn't get to your question this week, don't worry, you'll have another opportunity. We'll be live again at this same time next week, I think. Before we sign off, though, we'd like to thank our tireless mods. This week it was, as we mentioned, Sir Sean and Mr. Mars. They are the two folks who take your questions, put them into our questions doc so we can see them, and generally make things awesome in chat. So thanks to both of you.
And of course, thanks to all of you for hanging out, watching the stream, asking such great questions, and for enjoying the game. Without you, no one here would get to do what we do.
And we like what we do.
All right. That's enough for today. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, everyone.
Bye. Are the servers still up? Looks like it. Phew.
Don't tempt fate.